guys, it's Naomi. Welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, then welcome. Today I am doing a reading wrap-up for the months of both March and April. I know we're in May now, but I didn't do a reading wrap-up in March, so I figured I would just compile those into one video. I read a ton of books in March and April, but I'm only going to be talking about 5 of them, I think, here, because half the books that I read I can't really talk about yet. They were advanced copies, and some of them are spoilers for Unicorn Crate. So yeah, I will talk about those in some future videos, but for today I will start with Dreamer's Pool. Dreamer's Pool by Juliet Marillier. I'm still not sure how to pronounce that. I really need to look that up. This is a gorgeous adult fantasy novel. Dreamer's Pool is about a magical healer. This takes place in a version of ancient Ireland. There's a lot of myth and mystery and magic in this series. This is the first book in the Blackthorn and Grimm series. And so it takes place in this magical realm, like I said, and it goes back and forth between 2 points of view, actually 3 points of view. The main 2 points of view are both Blackthorn and Grimm. Blackthorn is, like I said, a magical healer, and it starts off, she is wrongfully imprisoned. Grimm is one of the other inmates in there with her, and during a crazy escape, they both manage to get out and journey on. I don't want to say any spoilers, so I'm not going to, but like I said, this is full of mystery and kind of delves into the deep, dark secrets of these characters. I thought they were really well drawn and became instantly fascinated by them. They are not your normal characters at all, and especially Blackthorn, she is kind of like her name, a little prickly at times, but I really grew to love her. I don't want to say too much more about this in case you're interested in reading it, but this is part of a series, like I mentioned. So the second one, the Tower of Thorns, or just Tower of Thorns, is the second book that I dove into right after that one because it was so good. By the way, I gave this one, I think, 4.5 stars, and this one I gave 5 stars. We go even deeper into the secrets and the pasts of the characters, and we follow a third main character in this one. This one is even more magical. The characters in these books often have to make some really tough decisions, and you know, that affects their entire life. And in this one, they have to solve a mystery having to do with this tower that you see here in the illustration on the front cover. And sort of a myth come to life that they have to figure out. I really got the feeling from this one, especially in the first part where it starts off of like sitting around a fire and being told a story by like a master storyteller, and it was really comforting. And even though there's some really dark stuff in here, it was just really cozy to get into, if you know what I mean. By the end of it, I was just extremely addicted, and I can't wait to start the third one. I've just been so busy having to read other things that just have to get done for work. So, but as soon as I have a moment, I'm going to read Den of Wolves, which is the third one in this series. The only thing I will say about these is, and the only thing that like knocked off like a half star or a star for this one, and it didn't really even bother me by the second book, but because it's supposed to have taken place in like this version of ancient, you know, mythical Ireland, I wanted more accents. You know how, like, in Outlander, for example, Diana Gabaldon writes in the dialect so that you're really getting the full, like, brunt of the accents, the Scottish accents. This one, like, it's interspersed a couple of times, but then the rest of the time it's just non-existent. So even though the names reflect the area, the language doesn't necessarily. And after a while, it didn't really bother me much, but it would have been fun and, you know, immersed me even more into the story if she had written that in. I also read A Crown of Wishes by Roshani Chokshi. I feel like I've talked about this book before, but perhaps I haven't yet. I know I mentioned it in a video when I first got it, but I don't know that I've spoken about it yet. This one was just as amazing, if not more, than the first book in this series. It's, well, not really, it's a series, but you could read them individually. This one does follow a different main character than the first book, although it is set in the same world. And this is just so magical, one of my favorite reads so far this year, not to mention one of the prettiest covers. I definitely gave this 5 out of 5 stars. I would give it more than 5 stars. This follows a kind of exiled princess who has to take part in a thing called the Tournament of Wishes, and she gets paired up with a very unlikely partner. And I won't say anything more in case you haven't read these. I don't want to give any spoilers because I think this is almost just good, to dive right into without knowing too much. And I would definitely recommend, of course, reading the first one in this. I think it's called a duo. I think you would call these a duology. I'm not sure if there's going to be any more written in this series. I hope there is. The first one is, of course, a Star-Touched Queen, and that's what that one looks like. But yeah, just absolutely adored this. Would definitely recommend. I also read a retelling, read Spindle Fire by Lexa Hillyer. Another beautiful, beautiful cover. And this one I actually used in the April mock-up box for Unicorn Crate, which you can see on the past boxes page of theunicorncrate.com, just so that I could show people like an example of the types of things that would go in a box before we had actually created a box yet. But anyway, I loved this one, and this one was very different. It was not what I was expecting at all. At first I was almost a little thrown off because it is written in the present tense from several different points of view, and I guess just not many books, at least that I have read lately, have been written in the present tense, and so I wasn't used to it, and it took me a good 50 pages to really get into it, to be honest. But once I did, I have to say, by the end I did not want it to be over, and I really, really enjoyed it. Retelling sort of Sleeping Beauty, as you might have guessed, but totally different than anything you've heard before, and it is written from several points of view. The main 2 points of view are from 2 different sisters, and the sisters have a very interesting relationship, which I really loved reading about. They communicate in a very interesting way because one of them is blind and one of them can't speak. She's mute and also can't feel anything, like, if she were to get burned, she wouldn't feel it, for example. So they communicate through this like form of tapping. So like the one that can see but can't speak taps into the palm of the blind sister, kind of, I guess, like a Morse code type of thing, I'm guessing. They both end up going on 2 different journeys that are also kind of linked though at the same time over the course of this book, and I think that there was just some absolutely beautiful moments in this. I haven't really heard many people talking about it, and yeah, I would recommend picking it up. Like I said, it might be a little off-putting in the beginning because of the tense, but I think it's definitely worth the read. I also read a very quick little 80-page book, nonfiction, A Grief Observed by C.S. Lewis, who of course also wrote the Chronicles of Narnia, but he also wrote a ton of other books, and this was part of a collection of books of his nonfiction that I got, I think, for Christmas, and picked this one up because it was so slim. This is a very serious and can be quite a depressing read. So I wouldn't necessarily recommend this unless you're really trying to understand someone's grief or going through grief yourself. And there are certain situations that I've been going through over the last year where this actually was quite useful for me to read, and I, as you can see, marked a bunch of pages in here. It is basically an essay. It's a series of journal entries by C.S. Lewis from the time he was going through after just losing his wife, I think, to cancer. So it's like him trying to come to terms and grapple with all of the dark, deep pathways that you have to go through when you're going through grief. And yeah, I don't really have much more to say about this one, but yeah, now you know about it, and I'm glad to have read it. Towards the tail end of April, I also started Strange the Dreamer by Laini Taylor. I love this book so much so far, and I probably would have finished it already had I not been so busy the last 2 weeks, but I pick it up whenever I have a chance to just read a little bit more, and I have an entire other book that I need to read like by tomorrow, but after that one's done, back to this baby. I am just absolutely loving it so far. It's about this guy named Laszlo Strange who is an orphan and then grows up to be a librarian in this giant library. And he has this fascination with fairy tales and stories, and he studies this ancient lost city of Weep, which no one knows what happened to it, or anyone that used to live there. They don't know anything really about it. It's just sort of like recorded in some ancient histories. And then he ends up going on a journey to Weep, and that's pretty much where I'm at right now. So yeah, can't wait to continue this one. So that is all for this wrap up, you guys. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments down below some books that you have read recently. I would love to know. And if you have read any of the books that I mentioned in this video, then let's talk about them in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe so that you can see more videos from me in the future. I talk about both books and beauty. I hope you are all having a wonderful day wherever you are, and I will see you in another video very soon. Bye. By the way, guys, I just announced the June theme for the YA Fantasy Unicorn Crate yesterday on Instagram. So if you haven't seen it yet, you should go check it out. The theme is Storms and Secrets. You can read all about it at Unicorn Crate on Instagram. Bye!